Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah.
Okay, Denny, welcome to the Matthew and Rizzle Show.
Hello. Total honor to be on your show, guys. Really, it's a real privilege. Yeah.
Stoked to finally all get on the same page time-wise, and I really have been looking forward to talking about Artobotics and this vintage vertical vending machines that you've been peddling art out of and now are taken to the blockchain. But first, I'd love if you can kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your backstory and what brought you to crypto and the NFT space.
Sure. I'm from Edinburgh in Scotland, and I started up Artobotic in 2016. What I wanted to do was sell my own artwork out of a vending machine. So I just had this idea of selling my own artwork from a vending machine to kind of market my own artwork, and maybe have them in like my local pub or my local barber shop or something like that. So yeah, I had a look online, I had a look on eBay, and I found one. It was completely fucked. It was all rusty, and it was like one of these big American things. You've probably seen them before, like a selector. And I was going to buy that, and it cost quite a lot of money, you know. But then I decided to go with this other one, and it's like a pillar box type of machine. So I paid for it. It was 50 quid, and it arrived. they arrived later on that week, and there was 5 of them. So I was bidding on 5 machines. And then I thought to myself, well, I can't just sell my own artwork out of these machines, all these machines. So I thought to myself, well, why not just get my friends involved? And we can have these machines everywhere. We can have them all over Edinburgh, you know. So that's what I did. So I contacted all my artist friends, and they were all really interested in it. They really liked the idea. I was really surprised. And we had a little show in a pub across the road. And then other people wanted to start getting involved. Other venues that had seen them in the first venue wanted to get involved. They wanted to have it in their venue. And it kind of snowballed from there. And then I had this idea of getting famous artists involved. I don't like calling them famous artists. I don't like really saying that, but you have to sometimes. I wanted to get them involved so that we could have some headliners, and that would attract people to the machines to use them. It's all about making artwork accessible to the public, and all about making art affordable to the public. So that's what we did. And that took us to that kind of level, you know. So
wait, dude, can I stop you real quick? I'm like fascinated by this story. Like, what an amazing concept, and especially that you got like a really great response to it. How does it work? Like, if I walk up to this machine at a bar, like, do I know? Like, do I get to select the piece that I'm getting? Is it totally random? Like, obviously, like like certain artists are going to be available, but how does it actually look like? You know, when you're standing in front of it and doing the thing.
Yeah. So it's completely random. It's like a pillar box. It's an old cigarette machine from the UK, you know, and it's completely random. So we'd only sell like one certain type of cigarettes, but when I'm putting my boxes in, it's completely random, which one you're going to get out next. And that adds to the kind of mystery of it all.
Dude, are you like the originator of like analog random generated art or something? Like, oh, crap.
Oh, I wish I was, man. I wish it was. There's actually another guy doing it in the States, because when I started researching it, I thought I had the idea, and I started researching it, and there is another guy in the States who's doing it, and that is called Artomat. So he stole my idea in reverse. So that's what you do. You walk up to the machine. His machine isn't random; it's a selector. So with this machine, it's completely random, and it adds to the mystery. And I see these machines as being like a portal almost, a portal of accessibility. We've had them in barber shops. We've had them in public telephone boxes, the Royal Scottish Academy. We've had them. Edinburgh printmakers, people have wanted them for their product launches, all sorts of things. So when it moves, I'm thinking about the metaverse now, but I don't know if you want to move on to that. But we've just done this show recently called Artobotic Metaworks, and it was I met this artist, Aisha Taskin. Her name is, you might have heard of her. She's quite a big name in the NFT scene, and she wanted to curate this machine called Metaworks, and just take it around and introduce people to the idea of NFTs, out in the wild during the Edinburgh Festival. So she got all these crazy artists involved. There's Sabet, Eric Milliken, Fokker Wolf, who's like a huge street artist in the UK, and Noah Becker from White Hot Magazine, Boom Vermeer, Ryan Arnott, Will's Planet, Ivy, Maya Melia, Unshareable, The Alsos, Rado Rassam, Jay Golding Art, D Klein, Gasana Quell, and Murat Atimti. Sorry for listing all those. I just couldn't not do that.
Dude, you gotta give them shout outs, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I noticed that you, I think it was in the last show that you had collected some of D Klein's stuff. So that went really well. It just went really, really well. But it is quite hard to penetrate through to, most people haven't even heard of Ethereum. They've heard of Bitcoin. But so when you're trying to explain to people, I think you have to come in at it from another angle. You have to explain, instead of going in the crypto way, you have to explain it from the metaverse way. And as soon as you say a 3D internet, they're hooked, So that's the way I was going about it. So we want to make these machines virtual and take them onto the metaverse. Kind of like them to be pan metaverse rather than focusing specifically on one blockchain. That's where we're at the moment.
So what's the actual plan then to make some sort of like 3D version of the Artobotic and have it be like plug and play in all these virtual spaces like CryptoVoxels, Decentraland, like that, where folks can kind of interact with it in the same way that they have been, and people can load it up with random art and all that good stuff?
Yeah, exactly. I'd kind of like to keep it simple to begin with, but I'd really like to start storyboarding these machines because they're games in themselves. So instead of developing a whole game, this would be concentrating all our energy into making this machine the game, and it would be packed out with all sorts of features in the future. Decentraland, Sandbox, OVR, which I'm really into, all these three-dimensional, immersive, augmented reality experiences. So that's what we want to do. So we're looking for a developer to help us with that. Somebody that knows something about Solidity and Cardano maybe, somebody that knows Haskell. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. And we'd like to make 777 machines. I know it sounds like a random number, but it kind of reflects back onto the kind of potluck aspect of it all without saying that it's a lottery, you know. So only 777 machines. And to begin with, I think we would drop 7 machines for people to buy. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. I think it's a really cool idea. I mean, I'm immediately reminded of the POAPs, and this seems like the proof of attendance token, where, you know, someone goes to an event and they can essentially go up to a virtual vending machine, but this vending machine dispenses these specific NFTs that are, you know, your proof of attending these events. This seems like it's sort of like, you know, extrapolates on that concept. So I'm trying to understand, like, do I buy the vending machine itself and then I'm responsible for populating it, or, you know, how, you know, with the art and, you know, sort of like I have sole ownership of this virtual vending machine kind of thing?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's an artwork in itself. That's what you need to remember. It's an artwork in itself. So we would continue to sell through the machine. So that's where all these complicated smart contracts have to come into play, so that to enable us to do that, you know, pan metaverse. But to answer your question, you would own the machine. You would own the rights to the machine, but we would own the right to sell through it, because I think that we would need to curate the machine. We wouldn't want anyone selling any random shit through it, if you know what I mean.
And then would the owner sort of get a percentage cut of anything that's purchased through there, or how are you thinking about that aspect after that initial purchase?
I think that's a good idea. I think that is a good idea. I was kind of working on what I was calling a white paper before, but I realised that these things take an awful lot of time. I think the owner would receive a cut from each sale. We're working that into it, yeah. So I don't know what that percentage would be yet, but when we release something, I think we're going to call it a manifesto rather than a white paper, because a white paper just sounds so daunting. So it's a slow burner, but we'll get there. Yeah.
Dude, as far as, like, you know, where you see these things living or not living or whatever, you know, obviously when we're talking about the metaverse, there's, you know, I feel like, you know, every week we're like getting more and more universes sort of added to the metaverse, and it's becoming very difficult to be like interoperable across like all of them. From, you know, where you're at and trying to introduce these things, like, where do you see the lowest barrier to entry being, or where do you see like these things being utilized? Like, you know, once you launch them, like, you know, where do they live first, or, you know, how are they accessible, like in the, you know, sort of trial run or first run?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would like to start off with OVR. I was just speaking to them today, actually, speaking to Hexadized. So they have their own SDK. So if we made something on Unity, we could get it up there quite rapidly, and it would be right in your face. I mean, I don't know if have you seen OVR before? The reality, it's augmented reality thing.
Dude, I feel like I've seen clips of it, but I haven't like honestly really experienced it firsthand. Have you messed around with it at all, Matt?
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So you could buy hexagons in the world, but you can also access them remotely. It's on Ethereum. as well. So each parcel of land is an NFT. But they have their own SDK, and it's really fun. I can get onto that later. I'd really like to give them a massive plug, but I want to answer your question. So we would start there. And also Neblio is another blockchain that we've been chatting to. Thomas Vobda. It was just really cool, but being able to speak to someone who was so high up in an actual blockchain, running an actual blockchain. He gave us a lot of advice, and he said that it was definitely possible smart contract wise, but he is very busy. He's trying to pack out all this VE NFT and VE framework stuff, which is absolutely amazing. It's really good what they're doing on the back end with that. And also, obviously, Ethereum. I think it would be initially really expensive for me to do it alone, because a Unity asset like a vending machine is going to have a lot of, there's going to be a lot of gas with that. I probably wouldn't start with Ethereum, but yeah, definitely get onto that later. Yeah.
And I'm sort of curious, zooming out a little bit, I love this sort of vision of what you want to build out in the metaverse, taking what you've been doing in real life, which sounds honestly really exciting. I wish I would have been able to hop into a room with one of these vending machines and
seriously,
scoop out.
man.
Honestly, yeah,
dude,
it sounds amazing. But I just want to get your take on the current lay of the land when it comes to buying digital art. What do you see that's worked? What have you found lacking or wanting? Just curious about that.
I have to be honest. From my point of view, coming from the physical art world, and in sort of viewing it through this tiny portal, I can see that it's a bit split. There's a lot of digital NFT artists that seem to just want to make a lot of money from it. And then there are a lot of real artists. On the other side, I don't mean real artists. Oh God, that's such a
Shots
horrible
fired.
thing to say.
Shots fired.
we know, man.
But then there's this confusing grey area, and it's what is going to grow out of that confusing grey area. Because I mean, if you look back to, you're saying zoom out, I'm going to zoom out all the way back to 1905 and the Dadaists. I don't want to be that guy, standing in that art gallery when we're looking at Duchamp's urinal, and say, what is this, So yeah, I think there's a lot, I think there's a lot of, there's a lot that could happen out of all these smart contracts. It is just very, very interesting at the moment, to see all these artists messing around with all this new stuff, so interesting, fascinating.
And then in terms of the ways that folks are selling their art, obviously it started with the traditional auction method. Now we have a bunch of Dutch auctions. I think there's a few other drop mechanisms out there. Nifty Gateway has a whole slew of them. What do you think about that? Just because I feel like that's the parallel with what you're doing. You're sort of just elevating the release or to market strategy and making it even more interactive, experiential, and adding this whole other layer to that experience.
Yeah, well, Artobotics always had a set fee. So it's, I'd imagine on the metaverse, you would pay perhaps $50, $100 a time, and you would always win. You'd always get something out of it, but then there's that chance that you could get something which is worth far more than what you put into the machine. So that's how we've always operated, and that's what draws people to use Artobotic. And also there's another aspect to this, which is footfall. So people will travel, to wherever these Artobotic machines are, just to use them, But it's interesting. It is interesting how, the whole kind of the whole way in which people will buy art in the future on the metaverse. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I feel like it just has so many parallels. The in real life version of the random generated, I feel like that's why a lot of people are buying random generated art in the metaverse right now, for like the similar idea where you don't really know what you're going to get. It's kind of fun because it's a surprise. You got a chance of like really getting blown away. But either way, you sort of come away with your own thing. And it's there's definitely like an aspect of fun to it all. Dude, I know you said you wanted to plug them, man, and I'd be really interested to hear like your take on OVR. I did, and why like you feel like they would be the best for you. And I did a little stalking of their platform, and they look really cool, man. And it's crazy to just think that Matt and I have been in it for so long. OVR is like, obviously a, pretty dope virtual world that's popping up, and just in our blind spot, there's just so many things going on out there right now. So what's the deal, man, on OVR, and why do you feel like that's like the play for Artobotics?
Right. Well, with OVR, I mean, you can have these machines in geographical locations all over the earth, and also you can access these geographical locations remotely as well. I find that really interesting, and you can have meetings and parties on these lands as well. They map your face. And my partner and I had this. We had a disco, and we were all jumping around in this, in this like virtual room that you can build out in your own SDK, which is fantastic. I mean, it's great for us to start out there, because we can just upload our asset straight in through the SDK without having to mint anything, because we've already minted the land, kind of thing.
That's really
cool.
Dude, it's interesting, man. I'd be, as someone, Matt and I, are hosting virtual events. It'd be awesome to take a field trip over to OVR, especially if we could get a virtual art vending machine, up and running in there, man. I feel like it'd be such a fun thing to, introduce our community to, but also just in terms of like a really cool event. Dude, I see it, man. I mean, in the physical world, in the real world, whatever you want to call it, man, I would certainly like travel to do one of these things. Is that still in motion? Like, are you still doing it, in real life, as well as, trying to migrate into the metaverse, or is this like your sole focus right now?
No, we could never do that, because we have the copper machine, of course, which is this, it's a steampunk Artobotic that we have made of copper. If you check our Instagram, you'll see it. But it's like an Art Deco thing, and that sits in the Edinburgh City Arts Centre. We'll always be representing physical world artists, because we don't want to abandon physical world artists, and we don't want to say to people, there's this new thing called NFTs and you must do it. It's not what we're trying to do. So we'll always do those machines. But our mission is to onboard these physical artists onto the metaverse, because, I mean, 99% or 95% of artists are in the physical world. Am I right? So it'd be great just to onboard them into NFT land and show them what they can do, with LiDAR scanning. If they're an oil painter or a watercolorist, they could actually LiDAR scan their work, or a sculptor. and mint their work that way. Some crazy stuff. I mean, we took a whole section of Brick Lane in London, and we projected it into the meadows where we stay up in Scotland, you know. So you can just kind of, it seems as if you can just kind of teleport physical objects, you know, across the world like that. You know, it's great, and across the metaverse. I find it just so exciting, so fascinating.
Dude, seriously, I feel like there's some play in the future where like the physical machines are connected to the metaverse machines in some way, and when like someone mints something into the metaverse, then it becomes possible to get it in the real world or something. There's definitely some way like down the line to tile this together. It's really cool, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's what we did with Metaworks. Metaworks the other way around. Aisha Taskin, she's a force of nature. She really is. We're pulling all that together. So she had, I think she used Pope. So it was just a case of typing it. You get the box out of the machine, you type in your code number, and you get taken to your minted artwork kind of thing, you know. And it worked, you know. So I can't see why it wouldn't work in reverse.
That's crazy. That's really, really insane. I just had this thought about the original art that was popping out of these vending machines. Like how did the market work for that after folks were able to collect the art out of the vending machine? Like, were they holding on to these forever? Was there like a mini slice of like eBay that's like dedicated to these mini works of art? Like, how did
can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
Do you mean the physical machines, or do you mean the MetaWorks machine that we just did? Yeah, the physical machines. Yeah. So look, artists made physical work, and it went into the machine, and people put their £10 in and £2 coins, and the machines are quite temperamental, and so I have to be there with them usually, because the electricity has to pass through like 5 whole £2 coins to complete the circuit. But yeah, they get their artwork and they take it home. Can you ask a question again? Sorry.
No, yeah. So after the folks collected it and took it home, like I'm wondering, like over the years, if like a niche of eBay kind of popped up and people were buying and selling these works on the virtual internet.
I've certainly heard of people reselling them. Yeah, I don't know about on eBay, but yeah, I've heard of people selling. I mean, it's crazy. I'd imagine that people would have sold. Because we've had Turner Prize nominees, Royal Academicians, we've had Jake and Dinos Chapman, Kennard Phillips, who was Banksy's inspiration, actually, and unofficial war artist, David Mack, R.A., Ai Weiwei, Magda Archer, all sorts of crazy artists that I've contacted out of the blue, and they've said yes, you know. So yeah, I would imagine that there is a secondary market. I don't know too much about that secondary market, though, I have to say. But I would imagine in the metaverse, there would be a secondary market for that as well. And I just find it really, really interesting.
Dude, I agree, man. In terms of like, you know, when you got everything set up and ready to go, in the metaverse, like who do you see your like ideal artist like type to be working with? Because I know that, you know, they got to do like a few things in order to make this like right. You want to include some like really high end and like desirable pieces of art, but you also want to make it like at a reasonably accessible price point to people, so you can, I assume, like, you know, load up the vending machine properly. So like, is there you know, I maybe this is like a tough question to ask, but I'm just trying to understand, like, and maybe like priced in ETH, you know, do you have like a specific price point in mind, or, you know, I'm just trying to think of how this plays out in the metaverse, like how many things get like loaded up in each vending machine, like, you know, how like if I want to just buy out the vending machine, like what is that going to cost me? You know, how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I would see it working from like a main wallet that we would put all the. This is just abstractly. I'm not a developer. This is how I see it. It would all the artwork, all the NFTs would go into one main wallet, and that would be linked to Chainlink's randomizer somehow. And then it would be distributed to all of the machines. So all the machines would be fed from this main wallet. And each wallet would be in itself a wallet. And it would store all these NFTs, these randomized NFTs. So I was also looking into charged particles as well. I mean, that's another story with Ben Lakoff and all that. But yeah, each machine would be a wallet. And people would be able to access this wallet somehow by putting money in the machine or crypto in the machine. And for artists, it's a guaranteed way of selling their artwork, if you know what I mean. So anything under, let's say, 0.04 ETH or $100, £100, something like that. And then for our headlining artists, a portion of our revenue that we get from every sale would go into paying headlining artists to get involved, if you know what I mean. But yeah, always trying to curate it properly and make sure that it's a really well curated operation. Yeah.
And as we're heading to the end of our chat, one of the questions we always like to throw out our guests, and this is super invasive and highly personal, but we always like to shake down our guests and their digital wallets to see what you've been collecting, scooping up any hidden gems there for us to go look after.
Right. Okay. Well, I suppose it's like I don't know. It's like there's a phrase in Edinburgh, and that is a cobbler's children always have bare feet. And that is when you do a job, you're less likely to want to do that job in your spare time, if you know what I mean. And with being a curator, I think because I think my thirst's quenched by having all this artwork coming through my hands all the time. So I'm not a big collector, but I do have a few that, you know, I have a few kind of NFT artists that I'm looking at. Yeah. There's one called Satoshi, actually, who I was looking at. I've forgotten his second name, but his name's Satoshi, and he does these amazing generative kind of thread line things, which are just awesome. Obviously, Aisha Taskin, I would love to be able to afford some of her work. And Decline and Murata Timti. I'm really interested in AR work as well. I really love AR work. And Eric Milliken. Have you heard of Eric Milliken?
Yeah, I've heard of Eric.
Yeah.
I've heard of Eric, dude. I'm amazed at how
prize artist. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was just gonna say, and please keep going, but I'm just amazed at how we're like all in the same space now, and like clearly, you know, you're just sort of like in a different circle than we are, and you know, I'm fascinated to go check all these people out. I'm not as familiar with. I feel like I recognize some of the names, but would love to check some of these people out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all reimagining and redefining a creative paradigm here. You know, whether we're heavily rooted in the space like you are, or someone that's moving in like me, it's a big melting pot. You know, it's a crucible of creativity at the moment. The whole thing's in flux, and I'm just delighted to be part of it and delighted to be on your show.
Absolutely amazing. And then for folks to kind of reach out to you, if there's any Solidity devs out there, blockchain devs that want to support this project, where can they contact you to get this kickstarted?
Primarily on Twitter at the moment. It's Artobotics on Twitter. So not Artobotic, but Artobotics, pluralized. And obviously Discord, we're Artobotic on Discord. And that's it for now. That's our primary engagement portal.
Nice. Keep it simple to get started. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Well, Denny,
thanks.
It was an absolute pleasure to be able to get the chance to talk to you.
It's a pleasure for me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure for me to just get all this out. Yeah, get it out there. And if there are any devs out there that would be interested in helping out, that would be amazing to hear from them. Yeah. So thanks a lot. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. So thank you so much, man.
So stoked, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Bye.